powerful volcano erupting in Italy. The incredible moment, you see it here, caught on video. That's lava and smoke rushing down the hillside and into the water, catching boaters by surprise.
And Tom, scientists warn that further major eruptions could cause part of the rock face to break off into the sea.
The ground is shaking, and a supervolcano in Italy might soon erupt. Over 2,500 earthquakes have struck the Campi Flegrei area. Locals are experiencing the most intense shakes in 40 years in Pozzuoli.
During the 1971 eruption, the volcano exploded at midnight. It melted a lot of snow and a lot of water came pouring down in our direction. The next day, in the early morning hours, rocks also started coming down.
Close to Naples, every day, the government's safety plans are only for earthquakes, not a full eruption. What if these plans fail when disaster strikes? Let's expose what could happen next in this critical situation. Italy's ticking time bomb. A serious situation is happening in Italy, and it needs our attention. The Italian government is preparing for a possible large evacuation of tens of thousands of people. This is because of the Campi Flegrei supervolcano, which has caused over 2,500 earthquakes since last September. These earthquakes are raising major concerns about the future of the area. People in Pozzuoli, near Naples, are very worried due to the increased volcanic activity at Campi Flegrei, which started getting worse on May 29th. The region has felt many earthquakes, shaking the area quite a bit. While these tremors haven't caused major damage yet, they are the strongest in over 40 years, making the community very anxious. Campi Flegrei is one of the world's most dangerous supervolcanoes, and its frequent tremors are causing panic among the locals. Government officials are now taking serious action, but their current evacuation plans are mainly focused on earthquakes and are being criticized by scientists as not enough. The situation needs a better plan due to the big threat from the volcano. The community is nervous, watching what the government will do next, as the safety of many people depends on it. The potential for disaster is high, and immediate, strong action is needed to prevent a catastrophe. There's a pressing need for a new plan to prepare for a possible volcanic eruption in the Naples area, which is home to over 3 million people. This situation makes us worry about the safety and future of the people living there. Recently, the caldera Campi Flegrei experienced a series of at least 24 small earthquakes. These tremors, ranging from magnitudes 1.5 to 1.9, were centered around the outer northeastern side of the Sofit crater at a shallow depth of just 2.3 kilometers. Nearby, volcanic steam vents have been getting hotter, which suggests increased underground activity. This has drawn more scientific monitoring. Before a major 4.4 magnitude quake hit on May 20th, the strongest in 40 years, locals had already seen a rise in scientific studies and investigations. This quake and the ongoing tremors have made people more worried about a bigger disaster. The area around Sarah is heavily populated, not because it looks like a typical volcano, but because it's so large and has had urban development. This situation is tricky because the region doesn't look like what we think of as a volcanic area, making it hard for people to understand the risks. As scientists increase their monitoring and research due to these concerning signs, there's a growing need to address the risks to this busy and crowded area. But there's more. The urgency for effective disaster preparedness and public awareness campaigns is higher than ever. The people of Naples face the real chance of a volcanic disaster that could dramatically change their lives and surroundings. The situation with the swarm is very dangerous. Earthquakes might show that the hydrothermal system is moving, but if magma is on the move, an eruption could happen soon. This is where things get very serious. A top volcanologist from the Italian National Institute of Geology and Volcanology, who has been watching Campi Flegrei for years, said in March that he would leave right away if he could. And this was before the recent rise in earthquake activity. Other experts have warned that bigger earthquakes, possibly around magnitude 5, could happen along with an eruption, for which the area is unfortunately not ready. Let's see how Pozzuoli is handling a looming disaster. Pozzuoli's peril, the volcanic threat. Under Naples, the leading volcanologist from the Italian National Institute of Geology and Volcanology has been watching Campi Flegrei for decades. In March, he said he would leave right away if he had the means, and this was before the recent spike in earthquake activity. Other experts have warned that bigger earthquakes, potentially around magnitude 5, could happen along with a possible eruption, for which the area is unfortunately not ready. The earthquake hit Pozzuoli hard, causing panic and chaos. The once busy streets became strangely quiet as people quickly packed their things and left. Local stores closed, and the usual sounds of daily life were replaced by an unsettling silence. The few who stayed behind huddled together, whispering about what might happen next. Fear was everywhere, and everyone was waiting for another shake. Children clung to their parents, their big eyes showing the fear they felt but didn't fully understand. Older folks, who had lived through many such events, looked worried but resigned. The community, which was always close, now felt broken as families scattered looking for safety. The local organization, already criticized, tried to reassure people but knew their past mistakes had caused distrust. And the tension only grew as the nights went on. Night brought little comfort. The darkness was broken by occasional aftershocks, each one reminding everyone that the danger wasn't over. People slept in their clothes, ready to run at any moment. Every creak and shake of their homes made them hold their breath. The once cozy homes now felt like fragile places, ready to fall apart. But in all this chaos, a new sense of community began to grow. Neighbors who rarely spoke before now shared food and comforted each other. Stories of past earthquakes were told over and over, serving as both warnings and reminders of their strength. Small acts of kindness, like sharing a meal or offering a place to sleep, became lifelines in these uncertain times. But that wasn't the end of it. There was more to come. Next, we see how Pozzuoli's people and scientists cope with constant danger. The trembling grounds, Pozzuoli's battle with nature. Meanwhile, scientists worked hard, looking at data and watching for more seismic activity. They were tired and felt the heavy responsibility of their job. They knew it was important to give accurate information, but they also knew they couldn't predict everything. Every update they gave was a mix of cautious hope and harsh reality. As days went by, the initial panic started to turn into a careful routine. The people of Pozzuoli adjusted to their new normal, finding ways to cope with the constant threat. The local organization, still facing criticism, worked harder to support the community. Volunteers helped distribute supplies and set up better shelters, slowly bringing back a sense of order. Ultimately, the people of Pozzuoli showed they could adapt and survive. Their lives were turned upside down, but their spirit stayed strong. The earthquake tested them in ways they never imagined, but it also showed their strength and resilience. As they faced the uncertain days ahead, they did so with renewed solidarity and hope. Local politicians are making changes every day, saying they are holding emergency meetings with experts and safety agencies. The National Commission for Forecasting and Prevention of High-Risk Situations has gathered and reported that the state of the volcano hasn't changed much since May 22nd. The alert is still at yellow, but their predictions for eruptions in the near future aren't very detailed. International experts have talked about this crisis, pointing out that volcanic activity after a long quiet period often develops over months or years. This process involves earthquakes, which have been happening since at least 2019. The ground has been rising faster and there are noticeable chemical changes. These signs suggest a short pre-eruptive period that could last just hours, or if we're lucky, days, with stronger earthquakes and hotter smoke. The big question is whether to evacuate Naples. With over 3 million people, moving everyone could take years. On the other hand, if the volcano erupts without enough time to evacuate, it could cause widespread destruction. The tension lies in deciding between the huge disruption of moving millions of people and the risk of catastrophic damage if the volcano erupts without enough warning. The authorities are stuck in a tough spot, trying to balance the immediate chaos of an evacuation against the long-term safety of the population. The new evacuation plan has some big problems. It only focuses on 143,000 people living near the caldera. Even with 500 buses to help, experts say the roads will still be very crowded. They also suggest using boats for evacuation. But if there's volcanic activity in the Gulf, an underwater eruption could make this very risky. Authorities need to listen to scientists and come up with a complete plan to avoid disaster. Updating the emergency plans with the latest scientific findings is very important. The Ministry of Civil Protection plans to keep reviewing and changing alert levels and actions as needed. Recently, the Vesuvian Observatory reported a series of earthquakes in the Pozzuoli area, showing seismic activity under Campi Flegrei. These earthquakes have been loud and scary for people living near the center. Authorities are waiting for more information to understand the situation better. This situation shows why we need a good, flexible evacuation plan that can change quickly with new information. But this isn't the worst part. The mix of earthquakes and a possible volcanic eruption means immediate action is needed. Scientists and emergency planners must work together to protect the people in the area. Now, we look at the shaky safety measures in place for the local residents. The silent threat beneath Fuego Rojo. Damage reports, especially those about old stone houses, show a big problem. These old buildings aren't built to handle earthquakes. Some steps have been taken, but they mostly focus on recent earthquakes. Did you know that Civil Protection has a guide on what to do before, during, and after an earthquake? This guide is meant for people in the Fuego Rojo area. But here's a big issue. If a volcano erupts, this guide doesn't help much. There might not be enough time to get out. History shows disasters can happen fast, like the VUV eruption where people couldn't escape in time. Efforts to teach residents are ongoing, but it's surprising this hasn't been done sooner in such a risky area. The guide gives basic earthquake safety tips. It suggests moving heavy furniture away from beds, securing tall furniture to walls, and using closed hooks for hanging pictures. It also advises knowing how to turn off gas and water valves, having a first aid kit with a flashlight and battery-powered radio, and understanding the local civil protection plan. The need for these preparations is very important. In areas prone to natural disasters, having quick and effective plans is essential. But what if these plans have gaps? The current guide has some, and they could be dangerous if not fixed. With the constant threat of earthquakes and volcanoes, keeping people safe and prepared must come first. The community needs to be better informed and ready for emergencies. The VUV eruption is a clear reminder of what happens when people aren't ready. It leads to chaos and tragedy. By taking proactive steps and making sure everyone has the right information and tools, we can lessen the impact of these natural events and protect lives and property better. Even though this advice seems lacking, the situation is really serious. It's shocking that only now people are being told to check if there's an emergency plan. The situation is critical, and while any action is better than nothing, the current steps don't seem enough to protect residents from a possible volcanic disaster. Since the 1950s, scientists have been closely watching the Campi Flegrei volcano. Over this time, there have been thousands of earthquakes, showing constant seismic activity. Scientists know exactly what's about to happen. The last eruption was in 1538, and since the 1950s, seismic activity has been very frequent, maybe too frequent. In a shocking study published in June 2023, scientists said a volcanic eruption after so many years of continuous seismic activity is a real possibility. Despite these alarming facts, the current measures to protect people seem inadequate. Residents need to understand how serious the situation is and make sure there's an emergency plan. History shows that constant seismic activity often comes before an eruption, so it's crucial that everyone is prepared. Experts have been working hard to understand the Campi Flegrei volcano better. They've used advanced technology to track seismic activity and study earthquake patterns. But despite their efforts, the threat of a volcanic eruption remains a worrying reality. The scientific community is urging authorities to take stronger measures to protect residents. Proper emergency plans and knowledge of what to do if a volcano erupts are essential. We can only reduce the potential impact of a volcanic disaster through preparation and proactive action. As the threat grows, everyone rushes to prepare for the worst. The looming shadow, Campi Flegrei eruption threat, and the race against time. Time is running out as the signs of a potential eruption become clearer. People near Campi Flegrei live with this looming threat, and being ready is more important than ever. Governments and local leaders must prioritize the safety of their communities, ensuring everyone knows the risks and what to do if the volcano erupts. This unfolding situation shows the power of nature and the need to stay alert. The collaboration between scientists and policymakers is crucial to face the challenges posed by the potential eruption of the Campi Flegrei volcano. Every moment counts as they work to protect lives and minimize the destruction that could be caused by this natural event. Living in Italy or nearby areas means you need to be ready for emergencies. It's important to know what to do if something unexpected happens, like an earthquake or a supervolcano eruption. This might sound unusual, but being prepared can help you stay safe. During an earthquake, it's essential to know where to take cover. If you're inside, find a safe spot like a doorway near a strong wall, under a sturdy beam, or beneath heavy furniture. Stay away from the center of the room to avoid falling objects. Don't rush outside. Wait for the shaking to stop first. But this isn't the worst part. If you're outside during an earthquake, move away from buildings, trees, streetlights, and power lines. These can be dangerous, and staying clear of them can keep you safe. Knowing these safe spots, whether you're indoors or outdoors, can make a big difference in an emergency. Remember, being prepared and aware of your surroundings can help you respond quickly and stay safe during unpredictable events. There was a warning about falling debris and the dangers it could cause. A few minutes later, the focus changed to other hazards, like bridges collapsing and landslides. Soon after, concerns about gas leaks following an earthquake were raised. These warnings were followed by instructions to move to safe waiting areas as part of the city's safety plan. But here's the catch. In the past, these safe zones often didn't have enough water or food. Then an important announcement came about a big evacuation drill in the red zone of Campi Flegrei, scheduled for June. This showed how important it was to improve the waiting areas and keep escape routes clear. The drill was planned to ensure everyone was prepared. In a surprising turn of events during recent tremors, the women's prison in Pozzuoli was evacuated. This left the inmates without support wandering the streets. They went on a hunger strike, wanting to return despite the risks. This situation showed a big lack of readiness among the people. But this wasn't the worst part. While everyone was focused on the earthquake threat, another danger was looming. A possible volcanic eruption. Even though experts had warned about it, the response was still not enough. This ongoing situation was very worrying. The frequent tremors and the response efforts were not enough to deal with the bigger threats from these natural disasters. For those who watched the video until now, there was a teaser about special content only for members. This exclusive zone had videos not yet available to the public, giving first access and unique insights. To learn more and join the community, viewers were encouraged to click on the link provided in the video description, comments, or on the homepage. As we ponder the unsettling balance between earthquake threats and potential volcanic eruptions, what do you think is the bigger risk? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the link to join our exclusive member zone for more in-depth content.